Well, I think General Wei is certainly correct in criticizing American efforts of guiding up with its allies and partners in containing China, and this is absolutely evident in America's Indo-Pacific report that was published in February. But I have also taken notice of some other elements. For example, in Secretary of Defense Austin's speech, he mentioned that the United States would not want to have a new Cold War with China, that the United States would not seek conflict with China, that the United States would not aim to establish Asia's NATO. These things, some of these things are not really new in that it is already said either by President Biden or by Secretary of State Blinken, but these points are still very important for the audience and especially for China. So even if he stressed on these points, these are significant, especially that the United States will not seek to establish Asia's NATO. I think this is the first time that I've heard such things from a senior American official. So this is significant. I think for you to have a good analysis of his remarks, we have to bear in mind two scenarios as background. The first is the Russo-Ukrainian war. Although this war has nothing to do with China, but it actually has drawn tremendous attention because of international media's hype on the so-called scenario of China launching an attack on Taiwan, mainland China. The other scenario is that President Biden actually talked about how the United States would come to Taiwan's military defense when he was in Tokyo on his Asian tour as the first as American president. So against this two background, the international attention was wrongfully focused on Taiwan issue. I call it wrongfully because according to our anti-secession law, there are only three conditions that the mainland China might employ through non-peaceful means in resolving this Taiwan issue. General Wei actually also mentioned that China has utmost sincerity in realizing peaceful reunification. Because the problem is not that mainland China wants to use force against Taiwan, which is part of China, but that unless and until the three conditions are exhausted, we still would be able to achieve reunification peacefully. So this is in China's best interest. So that does not suggest that this kind of use of force is inevitable. Talking about the Ukrainian war, I think China's position is trying its best to be impartial or to be neutral on this position. So that's why we have some sympathies toward Russia's view that this is a result of NATO's expansion for decades. Yeah, because actually ever since Mikhail Gorbachev, the Russian leaders have invariably warned against such expansion, but all of them fell on deaf ears. So now we are actually seeing the consequences. The other thing, of course, is the sovereignty of sovereign states like Ukraine, which are the sovereign rights enshrined in UN charters. So by stressing on the two elements, so China is trying painstakingly to strike on the two sides of the same coin. But having said all this, it is totally groundless that China has provided military assistance to Russia, or China would just want to have any gains from this. But the United States and the Western countries would wish that China would stand on the sides. There is a kind of hypocrisy in this, in that the United States has actually launched a kind of extreme competition with China. So there is also an element of pragmatism in China's position. So because Russia is China's strategic partner, and it is still China's strategic partner, if China chooses to ditch Russia, then you lose a strategic partner, and you won't necessarily improve your relationship with the country that take you as the largest competitor.